Hi guys, I am on take two of this video, which I realized ended up being a little rambly. The first one, first of all, it's 1 a.m., if not later by now. I can't tell you why I'm up making a video, but I am. Um, I am here to talk about the ending to a Jeneva Rose book, The Perfect Marriage. I'm going to skip the fluff. I'm going to skip the descriptions. If you want to read the description of this book, look it up, honey. But if you're here, I imagine you're here to read about the ending and hear my thoughts about the ending. It was trash. It just didn't make sense. Okay, so spoiler ahead if you decided to disregard everything I just said. Spoilers. It just didn't make sense, honey. It just didn't make sense, honey. Honey, it didn't make sense. So, like, I'm all for a good twist. All for a good twist. But I feel like the twist still needs to make sense. Like, you still need to be like, oh, like, oh, that fits. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That makes sense, right? Not this book, girl. I feel like the twist at the end with Sarah being the killer, right? That twist did not make sense. I'm in my Savage Fenty, not sponsored. I'll take a sponsorship though, Savage. That twist did not make sense, honey. Like, it made not a single lick of sense. And it didn't make sense because Sarah's character is presented to you solidly one way the entire book. Like, she is a cutthroat, business oriented lawyer, okay? And they only give you one glimpse of like her having a violent streak, and even that ended up being in her head and made up, like when she was mad at Anne. But like she does present to be heartbroken and upset at her husband, but I don't feel like she presented any signs of being capable of murder. And one could say, oh yeah, that's the twist, that's the point, that's the whatever the hell, but it just didn't fit to me. It didn't make a lick of sense, and it left a lot of holes and gaps. The biggest question that I have was like, so she had Matthew running her errands and doing her illegal dirty work to get DNA, and he finds whatever the DNA on the sheriff and knows that he's a third set of DNA in her, and it could have blown the case wide open. But then like she decides not to present it that way so that her husband can get the death penalty. And I just want to know, did Matthew know? Do we think Matthew knew? Do we think Matthew knew? Because I was left with that question. I also was left with like if this was really your root, like why would you kind of hint at it when he was in the getting ready to be put down in from lethal injection, because her husband gets a death penalty, by the way. Like, what the fuck, right? Like, it also is so sadistic. Like, there should it like there's an eye for an eye, but this was way above eye for an eye, right? So like, he cheated, you cheat. He cheated, you get a divorce. He cheated, you cheat and then get a divorce. He cheated, you let him realize that, you're the baddest bee on the block and he can't replace you. You don't like the extreme of he cheated, so I'm going to kill his mistress and then set him up to take the fall for it and let him die by the death penalty is wild. That was so harsh. Like, and I see why it's being made into a movie because of the drama, honey. If it's not a movie already, like, tell me in the comments, is this already a movie? I'm curious to know. Some other things about the book, I felt like Adam's character was so cringy. Like, either way, like, I mean, I don't think he deserved death penalty Geneva Rose, but his character was super cringy. Like the whole, like if you're fortunate enough to get out, like to get out of jail and be on house arrest, honey, stay out of jail and be on house arrest. That's my thoughts on that. But he escaped both house arrest and then he escaped jail, and like that was super cringy. It also was cringy of him to be wondering if the sheriff was banging his wife after you cheated on your wife. Like you have absolutely no you're and your wife's defending you, right, in the case. So like your wife should be allowed to fuck whoever she wants if it's gonna get you to win the case. That's how I feel about that. But like that was his character was super cringy. His mom's character was definitely super cringy. Geneva Rose definitely knows how to write some polarizing characters. I read another one of her books called One of Us is Dead, and the characters you had strong feelings about every single one of them. Some of the characters in A Perfect Marriage are a little milder. Like Anne, I was just kind of like, she's annoying, but I didn't have any like super strong feelings about her. Like I had with all of the characters in One of Us is Dead, but this was a wild book, honey. This was a wild book, girl. Um, yeah, I did not enjoy the ending. I don't know what I would have preferred. I guess I think maybe I would have preferred him to be not guilty because he wasn't, right. He didn't kill his mistress. I would have preferred for him to be not guilty, to think that he's getting his wife back. Also, they kind of hinted that she was pregnant, and girl, I don't know. But then they said, so she does end up having a kid with the other guy, Bob. But they said that the daughter was 8, right? But Adam had been in jail for 11 years. So it wasn't his baby, or it wasn't even like a cover up. Also, so like that happened, and you're telling me none of that got back to him? Like no one was like, oh yeah, Sarah is now has a baby with this dude, and he's in jail and just has no idea? That don't make sense. Like I would have got back to him. Um, yeah, this book, like it was a good ride, but then when you got to the end of the ride, it was just kind of like, what the fuck? Yeah, if my fantasy ending for it would have been she would have got him off the trial. They would have found out that Deputy Hudson, who they were hinting at the whole time, was the killer. And maybe this is why she didn't do it this way, because this is how the way she was hinting it. He would have been the killer. Kelly would have been banging him. Scott would have then flew off the handle and killed Deputy Hudson in the courtroom or something like that. And then he would have got home. Adam, that would have been, he would have got home. He'd have got out of jail. He'd have been so in love with Sarah. If she'd been like, fuck you, I want a divorce and I'm pregnant with Bob's baby or something like that. That would have been my fantasy ending. The whole Sarah did it and then her personality completely changes at the end to a cold-blooded killer. And, she basically sets her husband up for the death penalty, because that is a harsh, that's harsh, honey. That's harsh. That's harsh. um that just didn't fit, so any hoodle, that those are my thoughts about that I had to get out of my system immediately, because man, what a toxic book. The good kind of toxic, though. I see why it's popular. It's very polarizing, I imagine. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, did you think that was a fitting ending? Like, you thought, like, you finished that book and was like, yep, that's appropriate. Like, what did you think? Um, yeah. Let me know what you think. That's all I got. I'm actually strangely hungry right now at 1 a.m. This is why you do not crash in the middle of the day. I crashed in the middle of the day. I had some champagne. I was singing some songs. Anyway, girl, I'm hungry now. I'm crashing and I'm thirsty, and I'm probably gonna watch Bridgerton. So